Hello scrappers and planet lovers, Tin Man here with another video. So I've just finished a massive teardown of 9 compressors, and I have had several people ask me questions about compressors. Are they worth opening, or should I just bring them in as sealed units? Do they all contain copper windings, or are some of them aluminum? What are some of my best tips and tricks to open these quickly and effectively if I do? So going to answer those questions in this video. I do also have the results from this teardown, whereby I compare the price of sealed units with separating the items to see if it is worth it in profit, as well as give some tips and tricks to help you decide if it's best worth it for you. So going to start first by saying sealed compressor units are their own category at a scrapyard. You can bring them in unopened, and currently in London, Ontario, they're going for 19 cents a pound Canadian. For this experiment with my 9 compressors, I actually had 170 pounds and a quarter. So if I was to factor that in at 19 cents a pound, unopened, I'm going to get $32.35 Canadian. So that is a good score. These compressors that I have back here came out of dehumidifiers and air conditioners. I do find tons of them from those. But they do come out of different items as well, fridges, freezers, and I won't touch those, but they are out there, quite readily available. But I do want to also stress, it is actually illegal to cut the copper tubing that goes to compressors because of the gases and liquids inside of those. We don't want those going into the atmosphere. So what I do is I have a professional come in that will flush them all at once. So my first tip is make sure before you open all of them, store them up. It is going to be a lot cheaper to have someone come in and flush them all at the same time. As well, when I tear them down, I also wait till I have a nice big pile because they can be a little messy. When I'm grinding, they do produce a smell, and there is a little bit of oil residue that I want to make sure I minimize the mess. So I do it all at the same time in bulk. As well, the nice thing about these is they are very heavy. One of those compressors that you don't see back here, it was actually 50 pounds unopened. And it is a great item to bring in. Behind the camera, I have a blue box ready with the rest of the casings that I had from this teardown. And just that, so a blue box is not very big, heavyweight, it's easy to put into my truck. And if I'm already going to the scrapyard, it definitely helps top up that weight to help maximize my profit. So great items for sure. And there are 2 different styles I have here. And I also have a full breakdown of both of these styles in separate videos. So I will include the link to those in my description. But the 2 common ones you're going to find are this oval style here and this cylindrical one. I do attack these at different ways. There are different methods for both of them. I'm going to start with this one. The first thing I do want to make sure I do is there is going to be a black box on the side of that. I want to open that box. Sometimes they will have a nice coil of copper like this. Sometimes it will be red copper that you can see. This is all going to be number 2 copper. And they will also have several of these. If they don't have that coil, they will also have 1 or 2 of these coils. Once you open this up, this is going to have a little bit of copper inside, or brass. It does also contain a little bit of silver, so that is on the side there. And to open these, the first thing I want to do, because they contain oil, is I will put a drill hole in the top. I will turn it upside down and let the oil drain as much as I can into a container. So that is one option. But I recently, and I have to show this, recently found this tray here on garbage day. Was going to bring it in for tin. But what's great about this, you can see it's large enough. I think this is for a turkey. But it had a rack in it as well that you can see. And the great thing about this is I no longer have to put a drill hole in there. I just put the compressor right on here. I will grind it, and the oil will drip right down into that bottom of the pan. And frees me up from any mess, and then afterwards I will just drain it into a container. So if you have one of these, great. You could probably find one on garbage day like I did, but that is another option, is just having a type of rack, and that will eliminate any need to drain this with a drill hole. But again, both are efficient and effective. It's not 100%. even with my hands touching these, there's still going to be a little bit of oil residue, but it definitely minimizes that. The oil, I have seen some people say that they reuse it. I actually bring it into a drop-off facility in nice big containers so that I don't spill it into the ground or anything. They will recycle it properly, free of charge. So that is great. And it did actually produce quite a lot of oil from all of these. I actually had a Coca-Cola bottle full of it. So again, a 2-liter bottle was almost half full. So it does contain a lot of oil. But in order to open this one, I have actually, for clarity, painted dots on this. The dots are below the seal here. There is a weld here that you see. That is going to be the thickest part of that compressor. And what I will do is I will actually use a grinder, and I will grind all the way around below, maybe a finger length below the weld there. And what's going to happen is this cap will pop off. If it might have a little bit of welds or steel still left, and that's great, I can just pry it up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just turn it upside down, and I'll give it a good shake. What's going to happen inside, it's going to have a small apparatus like this that you see, the motor that has the beautiful copper inside of it, and it's going to have this item here. This item is going to be attached. Sometimes it will still be attached to this, and that's because there will be a couple little springs. You just have to cut those with a side cutter or a pair of pliers. This will pop out that you see, and what's great about this is it does have some really nice metal here. Be careful, this, even though it looks like copper, it is not. I was fooled the first time I took it out. I thought, wow, great tubing, but you can see it is magnetic. This is held in with a couple screws. Once that is removed, this will pop off. The rest of this is going to go into my tin pile. There is a little bit of cast aluminum that you see on here. I don't bother taking that off. Cast aluminum is going for about 56 cents a pound Canadian, but there's not much on there. I do have to factor in the price of grinding discs and as well as other items and time. So I will just throw this whole thing into my tin shred and get, right now, 10 cents a pound for this. Okay, the rest of this shell, you can see back here. So there's my cap. There it is. You can see there is still a little bit of oil in there. This I'm all going to throw right into my tin. I have had some people say, why is it tin, not steel? Steel is what we classify in a scrapyard as in terms of thickness. Thickness has to be bigger than a 1/4 inch. So this casing can definitely be bigger than a 1/4 inch. And steel is a couple cents more than tin. But there are other pieces of tin on here that is going to come off of it. And just for myself, for efficiency, I just throw it all into tin and get the 10 to 14 cents a pound Canadian instead of driving to another pile, separating it, and getting, 2 cents more for that. But all of this shell is going to give me tin price, which is great. So that's the first one. This one, there is, on the top, there's going to be 2 outlets, if you will, here. You have to undo that bolt there. The cap will come off. And this will have 2 of these as well. And the first thing I want to do when I open this is I'm going to look at the attachment here. I want to get this off. So all I'm going to do is hit this with a grinder. 2 cuts right there. This cylindrical piece here, I will pop off. It'll just fold off because there's nothing attaching it here. There is going to be on the bottom here a little bit of copper. So I do want to make sure I look at that. Cylinder as well. Gotta find one that I just put somewhere. But here it is. Here's my cylinder. And I have actually seen some of these cylinders painted black and actually be copper. Easy way to tell if it's going to be copper or not. If I put a magnet to it, it does stick. So this tube is going to be steel or tin, sorry. You can see I want to make sure there is a little bit of copper connected to that. I want to cut as close to that as I can on both sides. And I have not factored into the experiment these pieces, but these are great to get as well. The little add-ons, the pieces that connect to your compressor, they do all add up. They're all going to be number 2 copper, currently going, as I said, for $4.37 a pound Canadian. The reason these are all number 2 is not only because they're painted, they are oily, they do have soldering on it, but still, number 2 copper, great item, okay? And easy way to identify if it's going to be copper or not, all I would do is take a magnet and I'm gonna just run it down that hose. You can see it is all magnetic here. So even though that looks like copper, that is still gonna be tin, okay? So you wanna make sure that you don't add tin into your copper pile. They will downgrade you for sure. Okay, so once this is removed, what I'm gonna do for this one is I'm gonna first start with a rectangle. You can see right here, I'm gonna cut up there to the top. And again, I'm gonna leave a space, probably about a finger width. I'm gonna go across, okay? And I don't go all the way. I might go halfway or a little bit less than half. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go downwards. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut a rectangle downwards that you can see. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut the base all the way around, you can see. And the other reason I'm taking this arm off is just to be able to get at the bottom of this. It's in the way if I don't, so that's why I'm taking it off. You don't have to. Some people leave it on, but I do, just as I said, to get around it. But once I remove the base and I turn it upside down, what's gonna happen is this piece will crack open, okay? And I might have to use a screwdriver, but I will pop this part off, okay? So a nice piece right there. And then what's gonna happen is once I turn it upside down, there is gonna be the inner core. That inner core is gonna have the copper motor on it. This will pop off, okay? So this will be one piece that I have. Again, there's some more cast aluminum, but I leave this on and get the tin price. And what's gonna happen is the motor will be in, and this is not the right motor, but it will still be inside of here. And all I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna take a hammer and I will just hit that out. The reason I opened up that other piece is just to be able to get the hammer in, and it's not holding onto that motor anymore tightly. So once I hit it downwards, it is gonna pop out. I did notice the first time I did these cylindrical ones, and I did not include that rectangle, once this popped off, it was very difficult to get that copper motor out of there. So having this rectangle here just allows me to get in there. It doesn't have as much pressure on that motor to allow me to get it out freely with a hammer or a screwdriver. So I strongly recommend that with these. And I do show a full breakdown again on another video. But again, some really nice casing here for sure. And I do want to answer another question I had from one of my viewers about, do all of your motors contain copper windings? So again, this is the copper that's going to come out. Notice the different colors. I've got lots of different colors here. But I didn't know this. I mentioned a couple years ago that I found one that was aluminum winding. That gentleman argued that they don't make them out of aluminum. He said that aluminum is not as high pressure or high heat as copper. So if it was aluminum winding, the motor would burn out. And again, it does happen. In this experiment, I actually found this one, and I saved it for this video and experiment to show you. This is unusual. I've never seen this before, but I guess they are out there. Notice that it has beautiful copper there, but it also has, look at the metallic look, that is aluminum. So this motor here actually has some copper and some aluminum. And don't ask me why, if they're doing that much work, why they didn't just put it as copper or aluminum, especially considering, I guess copper is worth more. But again, it does exist. They do exist. I have taken out hundreds of compressors. This is one of the first ones I've seen mixed, but I did want to show you that it does contain aluminum and copper. So for this experiment and weight, I did factor it in as number 2 copper, but I am going to have to go ahead and remove that aluminum, separate it, because if I leave this as is, I'm going to get dirty load. And if it was aluminum, just like compressors, I don't actually take the time to open compressors for the aluminum windings. I have had someone say that they do, and I think it depends on where you are. Here in Southwestern Ontario, we make very little for aluminum windings. So what I do for motors like this that are aluminum or transformers, I just bring them in as tin price. If I brought them in as aluminum transformers, I'm getting 7 cents a pound. So tin price worth more, so I don't even worry about separating it. Same with copper bearing motors. If it is aluminum winding, it's not going to be copper bearing motor. It's just going to be motor. and I get about 5 to 6 cents a pound for that. So going to make a lot more money separating it from tin. One of my gentlemen in the States said that he makes like 60 cents to 65 cents a pound for aluminum. So again, I guess it depends on where you are. But for us in here at Southwestern Ontario, if it's aluminum, I just throw right into tin. But I did want to show you this aluminum copper mix. So they are out there, maybe the age or where it was manufactured, but again, pretty interesting item here. So again, last thing I do want to say with this is once I have my copper out, I will actually take this motor, I will put it outside, I will just have it upright like this and allow it to drain any more oil if I can. You can see just by handling these, there is still a little bit of oil. There is also oil on my paper here. So that is another reason why I do these in bulk. Very messy at times. I do also put a egg carton down to avoid any spillage or drippage. But the great thing about these is I'm going to now take this motor, I'm going to do a cut down the one side, remove the top. Where are my tops? They're all in my bags here. Just to show you, okay, I don't take the wires off. I leave those strings on there for now because it holds it on. But you can see that is one side of it. Beautiful copper there. Okay, I've got it in the bag. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put this into my press. Okay, I'm going to put it right in my vise, not my press, sorry. And all I'm going to do is take a hammer. I've got a nice punch here that I have, a hammer. Just going to hit it down. The nice thing about this is if I leave the strings on there, oh, that's not good. What I will do is once I hit these, they actually come out in clumps. There's about 4 that are coming down or going down right now just from hitting one hole. You gotta be careful. Some of the holes are smaller. Okay, but very easy to do. And the nice thing, having a little bit of oil on this just adds to the lubricant. Okay, I've got to tighten this bench up a little bit from working on this, but hey, there we go. So just going to take it now, put it in, secure it in. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this, it's an adjustable wrench. The nice thing about this, I'm just going to use leverage here. Okay, I'm just going to hold it here, and I'm just going to use leverage to pop it up. Look at how beautiful that is. Take the other one, I'm going to turn it over. Use that, boom, look at that. Okay, so I do take these off. These come off of there. Someone asked, do I have to take all the plastic and stuff off? Again, it does depend on your scrapyard. This is just a small bit of string. Because it's number 2 copper, number 2 copper has paint, it has discoloration, it has oil, it has soldering. So a little bit of paper like that is not going to really bother the scrapyard. If you really are, if you're trying to upgrade it, it's not going to get upgraded regardless of what you do to this, clean it. And that's because the coils here are less than 16 gauge. But very easy. If I took a knife, I could very, very easily just cut down this, or a knife, and I have done this. So here's a knife I have here. Watch this. All I'm just going to do is slice down the side. Okay, that's all I'm doing is just rotating it. There you go. Okay, now I've got to make sure I hold the copper coil, but the plastic or the string just pops off, and I can just throw this in the garbage. But now, as I said, this is going to be loose. So if I'm going to do it, I want to make sure that I have a container to do so. Okay, so moment of truth now. There is my windings. There is my steel or tin, if you will. Again, look at that nice casing there. Doesn't look like it, but this is 7.5 pounds as is. Okay, so really nice score. Here is all my copper. Look at that, club size. Okay, it's all right here. And here we go. So again, I mentioned 170 pounds at 19 cents a pound for sealed units. Gave me $32.35. If I was to bring in just the shell casings at tin price, and again, tin right now is going for about 10 to 14 cents a pound. 14 cents in Southwest or in London, Ontario, 10 cents in Sarnia. For this experiment, I am going to use the 10 cents just to keep it simple. So I had 153 pounds and 3/4 of tin. So just from this tin here, $15.38 at 10 cents a pound. The number 2 copper that I have here, I had 16 pounds and a half. So 16 and a half pounds times $4.37 a pound gives me $72.11. So added up all together, I made $87.49 for this work, which gives me $55.14 profit. It only took me about 2.5 hours to do. I do also need to factor in, I did use 6 grinding discs, and that is another tip and trick that I have. I do buy in bulk. This is a 50 pack that I just got from Canadian Tire. They will often go on sale. I paid $34, I think, for this. So a grinding disc worked out at 50 pack here, about 60-something cents a grinding disc. So let's say $5 worth of grinding discs that I had to use. So take $5 off to that, but I'm still making $50 to $55 profit, taking the time 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So that's what, $24 an hour if I did it for 2.5 hours. So that's not a bad price. Again, easy to do, quick, store them up, do them all at the same time to definitely save you on time and mess. But yes, compressors are an excellent item. Some of them will come with aluminum, but again, very, very, very rare. Again, out of my 100 plus that I've done, one that's been mixed, one that's been aluminum. So majority of them are definitely copper, and a great item to get. So hopefully that answered those questions for you. Get those sealed units. Make sure you have someone professional come in and cut the tubing and flush those before you tackle these. Go check out those other full breakdown videos if you're interested. Hopefully, again, that answered those questions. Please keep those questions coming. I will do my best to answer them. But yes, sealed units, compressor units, get those scraps, get that money, get that scrapper's gold in form of copper. So again, hope you enjoyed it. Happy scrapping. Stay well. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Tin Man out.